Tonight, we venture into the heart of New Jersey, to a place steeped in terror and cloaked in mystery, a road that has claimed its own dark corner in the annals of American folklore.
This is Shades of Death Road.
Picture, if you will, a lonely stretch of road cutting through the dense forests and rolling hills of Warren County. By day, it may seem like any other rural byway, but as night falls, an unsettling atmosphere descends, transforming it into something out of a nightmare. This road, with its ominous name, has been a silent witness to countless tragedies and bizarre occurrences that have left an indelible mark on those who dare to traverse it. Shades of Death Road, its very name whispers of doom and foreboding. How did it come to be called such? The origins of this grim moniker are as murky as the fog that often blankets the area. Some say it harkens back to the violent clashes between settlers and Native Americans, a bloody history that stained the ground with sorrow and fear. Others speak of a series of brutal murders in the early 20th century, when the road ran red with the blood of the innocent. Yet, there are those who believe it is named for the treacherous terrain, which has claimed many lives in tragic accidents over the years. Local folklore is rich with tales of this haunted road. Whispered legends tell of ghostly apparitions that appear without warning, only to vanish into the night. There are stories of a phantom hitchhiker, a spectral figure who flags down cars, seeking a ride to a destination unknown. Those brave enough to stop report a sudden chill, a sense of dread, before the figure disappears, leaving nothing but an eerie silence in its wake. And then there is the Lake of Shadows, a dark and brooding body of water that lies just off the road. Its depths are said to hold untold secrets, and many have reported seeing strange lights and ghostly figures near its banks. The air around the lake is thick with an unnatural stillness, as if time itself pauses to pay homage to the restless spirits that linger there. Tonight, we will peel back the layers of time and superstition, exploring the dark history and spectral phenomena that have given Shades of Death Road its fearsome reputation. We will hear the accounts of those who have encountered the inexplicable, their voices tinged with the lingering fear of what they experienced. So sit back, dim the lights, and let the shadows creep in as we take you on a journey down a road where the past and present collide, where the living walk alongside the dead, and where every twist and turn may reveal another dark secret.
Welcome to Shades of Death Road. The origins of the name.
The name, Shades of Death Road, alone is enough to send shivers down the spine. But where did such a foreboding title come from? Theories abound, each one more unsettling than the last, shrouding the road in an ever-deepening mystery. One of the most chilling theories dates back to the violent clashes between early settlers and the Native American tribes who originally inhabited the land. Blood was spilled on these grounds, and it's said that the spirits of those who died in battle linger here, seeking vengeance and rest in equal measure. The road, some say, was a witness to such brutal conflicts that it absorbed the death and despair into its very essence, earning its grim name. Another theory speaks of the infamous bandits and highwaymen who once roamed this area in the 19th century. They would lie in wait, hidden in the dense forest, ready to ambush unsuspecting travelers. Tales of robbery, murder, and disappearances were common, and the road became a place of fear and dread, a gauntlet of shadows and death. The bandits themselves met violent ends, often at the hands of vengeful locals or rival gangs, leaving their restless spirits to haunt the road forever. Perhaps the most macabre theory involves a series of brutal murders that took place in the early 20th century. Residents tell of a time when a string of unsolved killings rocked the community. Bodies were found along the road, their deaths violent and unexplained. The fear and paranoia that gripped the area during this period left an indelible mark, and the name Shades of Death was whispered in hushed tones, a grim reminder of the darkness that
Lurked within.
the early settlers of this region have their own stories to tell. Imagine, if you will, the fear that gripped those pioneering families as they carved out a life in the wilderness. The dense woods, the uncharted territory, and the ever-present threat of attack from both man and nature. Many of these settlers reported strange occurrences, phantom footsteps in the dead of night, disembodied voices carried on the wind, and shadows that seemed to move with a life of their own. One particularly chilling account comes from the diary of a settler named Abigail Thompson, who wrote of a night when she and her family were besieged by what she described as spectral warriors. She recounts hearing the war cries of Native American spirits and the clash of ghostly weapons. Her family huddled in terror as the sounds of an invisible battle raged around their cabin. By dawn, the noises ceased, but the fear remained, and Abigail's diary entry ended with a chilling note: "The road to death is paved with shadows." As we unravel the dark tapestry of Shades of Death Road, one thing becomes clear: its name is more than just a label. It's a testament to the fear, violence, and unexplainable phenomena that have plagued this stretch of road for centuries. Whether through the bloody clashes of history, the acts of ruthless bandits, or the unsolved mysteries of more recent times, the road has earned its sinister reputation, one shadow at a time. Stay with us, dear listeners, as we continue to explore the haunted history and spectral stories of this cursed road. In our next chapter, we'll delve into the violent murders that have left an indelible mark on the psyche of those who live nearby. Until then, keep your lights on and your doors locked. This is Whispers in the Dark, and you're listening to the tale of Shades of Death Road.
The murders.
As the moon casts its eerie glow upon this infamous stretch of asphalt, we uncover the dark and violent events that have stained its reputation forever. Over the decades, Shades of Death Road has been the scene of countless horrific acts, each one adding to the suffocating sense of dread that permeates the area. In the early 1900s, a series of gruesome murders shook the quiet community to its core. These were no ordinary killings, they were acts of unspeakable brutality, leaving a trail of blood and sorrow that would haunt the residents for generations. One of the most notorious cases involved the gruesome death of a local farmer, Henry Walker. His lifeless body was found on the side of the road, his throat slashed from ear to ear. The ferocity of the attack suggested a deep-seated rage, but the motive remained a mystery. No suspect was ever apprehended, and Henry's spirit is said to still roam the road, seeking justice for his untimely demise. Another chilling case from the same era is that of the Wright family. On a cold winter's night, their home was broken into by an unknown assailant. The intruder slaughtered the entire family, mother, father, and 3 children, leaving behind a scene of unimaginable carnage. The local authorities were baffled, finding no clear evidence or clues. The brutal nature of the crime led many to believe that something more sinister than a mere human was at work. To this day, The Wright family's abandoned house stands as a grim reminder of the terror that visited shades of Death Road. As the years passed, the violence continued. In the 1950s, a spate of disappearances gripped the community with fear. Young women vanished without a trace, last seen walking or driving along the infamous road. Their bodies were never found, but rumors of a serial killer began to circulate. The locals whispered of a shadowy figure lurking in the woods, waiting to pounce on the unsuspecting. This shadow, they said, was not entirely of this world, an entity born of the road's dark history, feeding on the fear and despair of its victims. The impact of these murders on the community was profound. Families lived in constant fear, locking their doors and windows as soon as dusk fell. The road itself became a symbol of terror, a place to be avoided at all costs. Parents warned their children to stay away, and even the bravest souls would think twice before venturing down shades of Death Road after dark. But the psychological scars ran deeper than just fear of the physical road. The community was gripped by a collective anxiety, a sense that evil was always lurking just out of sight. This pervasive dread gave rise to countless ghost stories and superstitions, further entrenching the road's reputation as a place where the veil between the living and the dead is perilously thin. One particularly eerie tale comes from a local woman named Margaret Green. She claimed that one night, while driving along the road, she saw a figure standing in the middle of the lane. Slamming on her brakes, she realized it was a young woman, pale and trembling. As Margaret approached to offer help, the woman vanished into thin air. Shocked and terrified, Margaret later learned that the description matched that of one of the missing girls from the 1950s. These stories, whether rooted in fact or born of fear, have left an indelible mark on the psyche of those who live near shades of Death Road. The murders may have taken place decades ago, but their legacy of terror continues to this day. Join us next time as we uncover the tragic accidents that have further cemented the road's fearsome reputation. Until then, remember, the shadows are always watching, and the past is never truly gone. The tragic accidents. Shades of Death Road is not only marked by violence and murder, but also by a series of fatal car accidents that have claimed countless lives. These tragic events have woven another dark thread into the fabric of this already infamous road, creating an atmosphere thick with fear and uncertainty. One of the earliest and most harrowing accidents occurred in the 1930s. A young couple, George and Lillian Parker, were driving home late one night after a festive evening with friends. As they rounded a bend, their car inexplicably veered off the road, crashing into a massive oak tree. Both were killed instantly. The investigation found no signs of mechanical failure or foul play. Some locals whispered that they had seen a ghostly figure standing in the middle of the road just before the crash, causing George to swerve violently. This spectral presence was said to be a harbinger of doom, appearing moments before a fatal accident. In the 1970s, another chilling incident took place. A group of teenagers, out for a joyride, met a similar fate. Their car flipped over multiple times, landing in a ditch. The survivors recounted a terrifying experience. Just before the accident, a dense, unnatural fog enveloped their vehicle, obscuring their vision entirely. The fog seemed to possess a life of its own, chilling them to the bone and filling them with an overwhelming sense of dread. When the fog lifted, they found themselves amidst twisted metal and shattered glass, their friends lying motionless. But perhaps the most inexplicable incident occurred in the 1990s. Sarah Jenkins, a nurse returning home after a late shift, was found dead in her car, which had skidded off the road and into a ravine. Her body bore no signs of trauma consistent with a car accident. Instead, her face was frozen in an expression of sheer terror, eyes wide open as if she had seen something beyond comprehension. The autopsy revealed no medical cause for her death, leading some to believe that she had been frightened to death by an unseen force. What makes these accidents even more unsettling are the eerie similarities that link them. In many cases, witnesses report seeing a mysterious figure or encountering a strange fog just moments before the crash. The figure is often described as a pale, shadowy silhouette, sometimes appearing in the middle of the road or by the roadside, always just out of clear sight. The fog, dense and impenetrable, descends without warning, vanishing as quickly as it appears, leaving devastation in its wake. Local legends offer a chilling explanation for these phenomena. Some say the figure is the restless spirit of a woman who died violently on the road many years ago, forever wandering in search of peace. Others believe it to be the ghost of a man wrongfully killed in a fit of rage, his soul bound to the place of his death, lashing out at those who dare to travel the road at night. The fog, they say, is a manifestation of the sorrow and despair that permeate the area, a physical embodiment of the road's tragic past. The impact of these unexplained incidents on the community cannot be overstated. Residents avoid the road after dark, and many refuse to drive it alone. The stories of fatal accidents and ghostly encounters have become part of the local folklore, passed down from generation to generation, each retelling adding another layer of fear and mystery. Stay with us, dear listeners, as we continue to unravel the haunted history of Shades of Death Road. In our next chapter, we will delve into the ghostly apparitions that are said to roam this cursed path, their ethereal forms a testament to the road's dark legacy. Until then, remember, the shadows are always watching, and the past is never truly gone. This is Whispers in the Dark, and you're listening to the haunting tale of Shades of Death Road.
The ghostly apparitions.
As the night deepens and the shadows lengthen, the true horrors of Shades of Death Road come to life. The road is infamous not just for its violent history and tragic accidents, but for the ghostly apparitions that haunt its length. Countless eyewitnesses have reported spine-chilling encounters with spectral figures, their stories filling the air with an ever-present sense of dread. One of the most frequently seen ghosts is that of a woman dressed in white. She is often spotted near Ghost Lake, a desolate body of water that lies adjacent to the road. Witnesses describe her as a pale, ethereal figure, her white dress flowing like mist in the night air. Her face is a mask of sorrow, eyes hollow and searching. Those who have seen her say she appears around midnight, standing silently by the lake's edge. When approached, she vanishes, leaving behind an icy chill and an overwhelming sense of sadness. Another common sighting is the spectral hitchhiker. Drivers along Shades of Death Road often recount seeing a man standing by the roadside, thumbing for a ride. He is described as wearing old-fashioned clothing, reminiscent of the early 20th century. When kind-hearted travelers stop to offer him a lift, he climbs into the back seat without a word. But as they continue down the road, he disappears, leaving only an empty seat and a lingering sense of unease. Some believe he is the ghost of a man who was killed in a hit-and-run accident, forever doomed to seek a ride that will never come. The ghostly children are perhaps the most heart-wrenching of all. Numerous witnesses have reported hearing the faint sound of laughter and play, only to see the fleeting images of children running along the road or playing in the nearby woods. These apparitions are most commonly seen in the early evening, just as the sun sets and the light begins to fade. The children, believed to be the spirits of those who died in tragic accidents or violent encounters, seem blissfully unaware of their ghostly state, continuing their games in a spectral afterlife. One particularly eerie account comes from a local resident named Thomas Reynolds. Thomas was driving home late one night when he saw a figure standing in the middle of the road. As he slowed down to avoid hitting the person, he realized it was a woman holding a lantern. She seemed to be searching for something, her eyes scanning the darkened road. When Thomas rolled down his window to ask if she needed help, she looked directly at him, her eyes filled with a haunting sadness. Before he could react, she disappeared, leaving him trembling and questioning his own sanity. These ghostly encounters are not limited to any specific area, but are most commonly reported near Ghost Lake, the abandoned houses along the road, and the dense patches of forest that encroach upon the asphalt. The apparitions tend to appear most frequently around midnight or during the twilight hours, when the line between the living and the dead seems to blur. Local folklore is rich with stories explaining these sightings. Some believe that the road acts as a conduit for spirits, a liminal space where the boundaries between our world and the next are thin. Others think that the violent history of Shades of Death Road has imprinted itself upon the land, creating a haunt where the spirits of the restless dead continue to walk. The sightings have left a profound impact on the community. Fear and fascination blend, drawing paranormal investigators and thrill seekers to the road, hoping for a glimpse of the otherworldly. Meanwhile, locals tread carefully, sharing their stories in hushed tones and avoiding the road after dark whenever possible. As we continue to uncover the haunted history of Shades of Death Road, the ghostly apparitions remind us of the lingering echoes of the past. Join us next time as we delve into the legend of the Phantom Hitchhiker and the unsettling encounters that have left an indelible mark on those who have crossed his path. Until then, remember, the shadows are always watching, and the past is never truly gone. This is Whispers in the Dark, and you're listening to the haunting tale of Shades of Death Road.
The Phantom Hitchhiker.
Among the myriad of ghostly encounters reported on Shades of Death Road, one figure stands out, cloaked in mystery and fear: the Phantom Hitchhiker. The stories of this spectral figure are both unsettling and consistent, painting a chilling picture of a lost soul forever seeking a ride to an unknown destination. The first recorded sighting of the Phantom Hitchhiker dates back to the 1950s. A young couple, returning from a late-night dance, noticed a man standing by the roadside, thumbing for a ride. He was dressed in an old-fashioned suit, his face partially obscured by a hat pulled low over his eyes. Feeling a mix of curiosity and pity, they stopped to pick him up. The man climbed into the back seat without a word, his presence filling the car with an inexplicable coldness. As they continued down the road, the couple turned to ask him where he needed to go, only to find the back seat empty. The hitchhiker had vanished, leaving them terrified and confused. This story is eerily similar to numerous other accounts. One particularly vivid encounter was recounted by John Lawson, a truck driver who often traveled the road late at night. One foggy evening, he saw a figure standing by the road, arm outstretched, thumb pointing upwards. John, a seasoned driver not easily frightened, decided to stop. The man, silent and somber, got into the truck's passenger seat. As John drove, he tried to make small talk, but the hitchhiker remained mute, staring straight ahead. When John finally turned to look at him, the seat was empty. His heart raced and he pulled over, trying to comprehend the impossible. The cold that lingered in the cab was palpable, a lingering presence that stayed with John long after the hitchhiker had disappeared. Another chilling encounter comes from Lisa Edwards, who was driving home from a late shift at work. She saw the hitchhiker near a bend in the road, his appearance striking in the dim light of her car's headlights. Against her better judgment, she stopped and offered him a ride. As he settled into the back seat, she felt an overwhelming sense of dread. She glanced at him through the rearview mirror, his eyes meeting hers with a hollow, haunted look. Suddenly, he leaned forward and whispered, "Help me." Panicked, Lisa slammed on the brakes and turned around, but he was gone. The only trace of his presence was a cold mist that hung in the air, seeping into her very bones. The reactions from drivers who encountered the Phantom Hitchhiker are varied, but share a common thread of fear and disbelief. Some report feeling a profound sadness emanating from the figure, as if he is a lost soul bound to the road by some tragic fate. Others describe a sense of malevolence, a darkness that seems to cling to him, making their hair stand on end and their hearts pound with terror. Theories about the hitchhiker's identity abound. Some believe he is the ghost of a man who died in a tragic accident on the road, forever reliving his last moments as he tries to find his way home. Others think he might be a restless spirit from one of the many violent episodes that have marked the history of Shades of Death Road. Whatever the truth, his appearances are a grim reminder of the road's dark legacy. These encounters have left an indelible mark on those who have experienced them. Drivers avoid the road at night, sharing their stories with an air of reverence and fear. Paranormal investigators have flocked to the area, trying to capture evidence of the hitchhiker's existence, but he remains an elusive and enigmatic figure, appearing only to those who least expect it. As we continue to delve into the haunted history of Shades of Death Road, the story of the Phantom Hitchhiker serves as a stark reminder of the road's eerie allure and the spectral inhabitants who call it home. Join us next time as we explore the chilling legends of Ghost Lake and the dark waters that hold more secrets than we can imagine. Until then, remember, the shadows are always watching, and the past is never truly gone. This is Whispers in the Dark, and you're listening to the haunting tale of Shades of Death Road. The haunted waters of Ghost Lake. Just off the ominous stretch of road lies Ghost Lake, a body of water shrouded in mystery and steeped in legend. Its dark, still waters reflect the eerie surroundings, and locals warn that what lies beneath the surface is far more sinister than what meets the eye. The lake has been the site of countless strange occurrences, each one more chilling than the last. One of the most persistent legends surrounding Ghost Lake is that of the Lady in White. Many have reported seeing her standing by the water's edge, her long white gown billowing in the night breeze. She appears most frequently during the full moon, her pale figure illuminated by the moonlight, casting an ethereal glow on the water. Witnesses describe her as a mournful presence, her eyes filled with sorrow as she gazes out over the lake. Those brave enough to approach her claim that she vanishes into thin air, leaving behind an icy chill and an overwhelming sense of despair. The origins of the Lady in White are as murky as the lake itself. Some say she is the spirit of a woman who drowned in the lake many years ago, driven to desperation by a lost love or a tragic accident. Others believe she is a spectral guardian, bound to the lake by a curse, forever watching over its dark waters. Whatever the truth, her appearances are a stark reminder of the lake's haunted past. Another unsettling phenomenon reported around Ghost Lake is the appearance of ghostly lights. Known as will-o'-the-wisps, These mysterious orbs of light dance over the surface of the water, flickering and darting in the darkness. Many who have witnessed these lights describe them as hypnotic, drawing them closer to the water's edge. Some even claim to have heard whispers carried on the wind, urging them to step into the lake. These lights are believed to be the spirits of those who have drowned in the lake, their souls forever trapped, attempting to lure others to share their watery fate. One particularly chilling account comes from a group of campers who decided to spend a night by the lake. As they sat around their campfire, they noticed strange lights moving across the water. Intrigued, they approached the lake, only to hear disembodied voices calling their names. Panic set in as they realized the voices were coming from beneath the water. They fled in terror, abandoning their campsite, and vowed never to return. The haunted reputation of Ghost Lake extends beyond these spectral sightings. Fishermen have reported feeling unseen hands grabbing at their lines, as if something beneath the water was trying to pull them in. Swimmers have felt sudden, icy currents envelop them, pulling them down with a force that defies explanation. Many believe these occurrences are the work of vengeful spirits, seeking to claim more lives to join them in their watery prison. The lake's eerie reputation has had a profound impact on the local community. Few dare to visit the lake after dark, and those who do often return with tales of strange encounters and unexplained phenomena. The stories of Ghost Lake have become an integral part of local folklore, a dark chapter in the haunted history of Shades of Death Road. As we continue to uncover the haunted history of this cursed path, the story of Ghost Lake serves as a haunting reminder of the supernatural forces that lurk in the shadows. Join us next time as we delve into the chilling legends of the abandoned houses that line the road and the restless spirits that inhabit them. Until then, remember, the shadows are always watching, and the past is never truly gone. This is Whispers in the Dark, and you're listening to the haunting tale of Shades of Death Road. The curses of the Indigenous tribes. Long before the settlers arrived and carved out the path now known as Shades of Death Road, this land was home to Indigenous tribes. These native peoples had a deep spiritual connection to the land, and the legends they left behind have woven an inescapable thread of mystery and fear into the very fabric of the area. According to local lore, the road and its surrounding areas were once the site of sacred rituals and burial grounds. The tribes believed that the land was imbued with powerful spiritual energy, and they were protective of it. When the settlers encroached upon these sacred grounds, disturbing the peace and desecrating the burial sites, the tribes sought to protect their heritage. It is said that they placed curses upon the land, invoking their ancestral spirits to guard the sacred places and to bring misfortune upon those who would defile them. One of the most enduring legends speaks of a powerful shaman who, with his dying breath, placed a curse on the land. He called upon the spirits of the ancestors, demanding they rise and protect their sacred home from the intruders. This curse, so the story goes, awakened the spirits of the dead, binding them to the land in eternal vigilance. These restless spirits are believed to be the source of the paranormal activity that plagues Shades of Death Road to this day. The impact of these curses on the area's paranormal activity is profound. Residents and visitors alike report an overwhelming sense of dread when traversing the road, as if unseen eyes are watching their every move. Strange sounds echo through the night, whispers carried on the wind, the distant beating of drums, and the mournful wails of spirits bound by ancient magic. One particularly eerie account comes from a local historian, David Mitchell, who spent years researching the Indigenous legends. David recounted an experience that left him convinced of the curse's power. While exploring a wooded area near the road, he stumbled upon what he believed to be an ancient burial site. As he examined the area, he felt a sudden intense coldness and heard chanting in a language he could not understand. The air grew heavy, and he saw shadowy figures moving between the trees. Terrified, he fled, vowing never to return. He believes he encountered the guardians of the sacred land, awakened by his intrusion. Another chilling story involves a family who moved into a house built near one of the supposed cursed areas. They were plagued by unexplainable events. From the moment they arrived, objects moving on their own, disembodied voices, and dark figures appearing at the foot of their beds. The family's young daughter began to speak of an old man who visited her at night, warning her of the curse on their home. Desperate for peace, the family consulted a local elder, who performed a cleansing ritual. Though the activity lessened, it never fully ceased, and the family eventually moved away, convinced that the curse was too powerful to be dispelled. The legends of these curses have become deeply ingrained in the local culture. They are a part of the stories told around campfires, the warnings passed down through generations. Many locals believe that the only way to avoid the wrath of the spirits is to respect the land and its history, to tread lightly, and honor the ancient customs. As we continue our exploration of the haunted history of Shades of Death Road, the story of the Indigenous curses serves as a poignant reminder of the deep and often dark connections between the past and the present. Join us next time as we delve into the chilling tales of the abandoned houses that line the road and the restless spirits that inhabit them. Until then, remember, the shadows are always watching, and the past is never truly gone. This is Whispers in the Dark, and you're listening to the haunting tale of Shades of Death Road.
The Weeping Shadow.
Welcome back to another spine-chilling episode of Ghosts of the Past. Tonight, we delve into a tale shrouded in mystery and steeped in sorrow. This is the story of a mourning spirit whose cries have echoed through the corridors of time, a spectral presence that haunts the small, unassuming town of Aylesbury. Our journey begins in the late 19th century with the tragic tale of Eliza Montgomery. Eliza was a young woman of extraordinary beauty and kindness, known throughout the town for her gentle nature and generous heart. She was engaged to a handsome, charming man named Thomas. Their love was the stuff of fairy tales, promising a lifetime of happiness. But fate, as it often does in these tales, had other plans. On the eve of their wedding, tragedy struck. Thomas, while returning from a nearby town, was thrown from his horse during a violent storm. He was found lifeless the next morning, his body cold and eyes staring blankly into the void. The town was plunged into mourning, but none were more devastated than Eliza. Grief consumed her. Day after day, she could be seen wandering the streets, her eyes red and swollen from endless weeping, clutching Thomas's blood-stained handkerchief. It wasn't long before Eliza herself vanished without a trace. Some say she walked into the woods, never to return. Others whisper she threw herself into the river, her broken heart finally succumbing to the unbearable weight of her sorrow. And so, the legend of the Weeping Shadow was born. It is said that on stormy nights, much like the one that claimed Thomas's life, the spirit of Eliza roams the town. Witnesses describe a pale, translucent figure, her face contorted in eternal grief, her sobs a haunting lament that chills the very soul. Sightings of the Weeping Shadow have been reported for over a century. In 1903, a group of schoolchildren claimed to have seen a woman in white drifting through the cemetery, her mournful cries piercing the silence of the night. In 1927, a farmer's wife swore she saw Eliza's ghost standing at the edge of the river, the apparition dissolving into mist as she approached. More recently, in the summer of 1974, a family newly arrived in Aylesbury reported a series of strange occurrences in their home. The house, an old Victorian manor, stood close to the cemetery where Thomas was buried. The family was awoken several nights by the sound of weeping, the mournful cries reverberating through the walls. They described seeing fleeting glimpses of a shadowy figure in the hallways, always disappearing around corners before they could get a closer look. The youngest child, a boy of 6, insisted that a sad lady visited his room at night, standing at the foot of his bed, silently watching him with eyes full of tears. What could be the cause of these sightings? Is it merely the product of overactive imaginations, or is there truly a spirit unable to find peace? Some believe that Eliza's soul is trapped, bound to the place where her love met such a tragic end. Others suggest that her grief has created a residual haunting, a psychic imprint that replays her sorrowful last days over and over again. The ambiguity of these occurrences leaves us with more questions than answers. What is it about love and loss that can bind a spirit so tightly to this world? Is Eliza seeking closure, or is her spirit forever cursed to relive the pain of her tragic loss? The Weeping Shadow remains one of Aylesbury's most enduring mysteries, a chilling reminder of a love that ended too soon, and a sorrow that time cannot erase. As the rain falls outside your window tonight, listen closely. Perhaps you might hear the faint sound of Eliza's sobs, a whisper of her sorrow carried on the wind. And remember, sometimes the most terrifying ghosts are those born from the deepest love and the darkest grief. This concludes Chapter 8 of Ghosts of the Past. Join us next time as we uncover more secrets and delve deeper into the shadows of history. Until then, keep your lights on and your doors locked. Good night. The Headless Phantom of Aylesbury. Welcome back to Ghosts of the Past, where we journey into the heart of darkness to uncover the most unsettling stories of spectral encounters. Tonight, we explore a chilling tale that has plagued the residents of Aylesbury for generations. This is the story of the Headless Phantom, a figure whose ghastly appearance and mysterious origins have inspired fear and fascination in equal measure. The legend of the Headless Phantom dates back to the early 18th century, a time when Aylesbury was a small but bustling market town. According to local lore, the ghost is that of Richard Hargrove, a once respected blacksmith who met a gruesome end. Hargrove was accused of a heinous crime, murdering his own brother in a fit of rage over an inheritance dispute. Convicted on circumstantial evidence, he was sentenced to death by beheading, a punishment that was carried out swiftly and mercilessly in the town square. As the story goes, Hargrove protested his innocence until the very end, his final words a curse upon the town and its inhabitants. Legend has it that his execution was botched, the executioner's axe dull and unsteady, resulting in a slow and agonizing death. The blood-stained cobblestones of the square were said to be haunted from that day forward. Sightings of the Headless Phantom began shortly after Hargrove's execution. Townsfolk reported seeing a headless figure roaming the streets at night, its neck a jagged stump, its body cloaked in tattered rags. The apparition was often seen near the old market square, where it was said Hargrove's spirit sought vengeance against those who had wronged him. Witnesses described a palpable sense of dread accompanying the specter, an icy chill that froze the blood and paralyzed the soul. In 1852, a group of travelers passing through Aylesbury claimed to have encountered the ghostly figure. As they approached the square, the air grew cold and still. Suddenly, the headless apparition emerged from the shadows, moving with an unnatural, jerking motion. The travelers fled in terror, their accounts adding to the growing legend of the Headless Phantom. More recently, in 1961, a local historian named Margaret Turner embarked on a quest to uncover the truth behind the legend. She spent countless hours poring over old records and interviewing elderly residents. Her findings were both intriguing and unsettling. Turner discovered that numerous unexplained deaths and disappearances had occurred near the site of Hargrove's execution. She also uncovered reports of strange noises, echoing footsteps, disembodied whispers, and the unmistakable sound of metal scraping against stone. Turner's research led her to an abandoned house on the outskirts of town, believed to be Hargrove's former residence. One fateful night, she decided to spend the night there, hoping to experience the haunting firsthand. Her journal, found months later among the ruins, detailed her terrifying encounter. She wrote of a spectral presence that seemed to watch her every move, an oppressive darkness that pressed in from all sides. Around midnight, she heard a faint, eerie wailing, followed by the sound of heavy footsteps ascending the staircase. Paralyzed with fear, she remained in her room until dawn. When she finally dared to leave, she found deep gouges in the wooden floorboards, as if made by a dragging axe. Local beliefs about the Headless Phantom are as varied as they are disturbing. Some say that Hargrove's spirit cannot rest until his name is cleared and justice is served. Others believe that the curse he uttered in his final moments binds his soul to the town, his eternal torment a reminder of the community's collective guilt. There are those who whisper that the headless ghost is a harbinger of doom, appearing before disasters and tragedies, a spectral omen that death is near. Theories abound, but none can fully explain the terror that grips those who encounter the Headless Phantom. Is it a restless spirit seeking vengeance, a cursed soul trapped by injustice, or something far more sinister, a manifestation of the town's darkest fears and deepest regrets? The truth remains shrouded in mystery, an enigma that defies rational explanation. As you listen to this tale in the safety of your home, remember that Aylesbury is a town where the past never truly stays buried, and the boundary between the living and the dead is perilously thin. Should you ever find yourself wandering its darkened streets, beware the shadowy figure without a head, for you may find yourself face to neck with the Headless Phantom of Aylesbury.
The Haunted Investigation.
Welcome back to Ghosts of the Past. Tonight, we embark on a journey into the unknown, delving into documented investigations by paranormal researchers who have dared to confront the mysteries of Aylesbury's haunted history. This is a chapter of intrigue and trepidation, where science meets the supernatural, and the findings are as chilling as the legends themselves. The story begins in the late 1960s, when paranormal research was gaining traction as a legitimate field of study. Aylesbury, with its rich tapestry of ghost stories and unexplained phenomena, became a focal point for investigators seeking to uncover the truth behind its haunted reputation. The most notable of these investigators were Dr. Richard Mills and his team from the British Institute of Paranormal Research. In 1968, Dr. Mills and his team arrived in Aylesbury, armed with the latest in paranormal detection equipment. Their primary target was the old Victorian manor where the Weeping Shadow had been reported, The house had a dark history, and local residents spoke in hushed tones of its eerie atmosphere and the strange occurrences within its walls. The investigation began with a series of baseline readings, temperature fluctuations, electromagnetic field measurements, and audio recordings. Almost immediately, the team encountered anomalies. In the main hallway, temperatures dropped suddenly, plummeting from a comfortable 18 degrees Celsius to a bone-chilling 4 degrees. The electromagnetic field detector spiked erratically, indicating an unseen presence moving through the house. But it was the audio recordings that provided the most compelling evidence. On their first night, the team captured a series of unsettling sounds, mournful sobbing, faint whispers, and the unmistakable sound of footsteps on creaky floorboards. These recordings were analyzed and found to contain frequencies beyond the range of human hearing, adding a layer of authenticity to the haunting claims. In 1972, the investigation took a more dramatic turn when the team decided to conduct a séance in the Manor's drawing room, believed to be the epicenter of the paranormal activity. The séance was led by a renowned medium, Eleanor Whitby, whose reputation for communicating with the spirit world was well established. As the séance began, the room grew noticeably colder, and a palpable sense of unease settled over the participants. Whitby soon entered a trance-like state, her voice changing as she claimed to channel the spirit of Eliza Montgomery, the weeping shadow. Through Whitby, Eliza's tragic story was recounted in heart-wrenching detail. She spoke of her undying love for Thomas, her grief at his death, and her despair that led her to wander the earth in search of peace. The medium's voice was filled with such sorrow that several team members reported feeling overwhelming sadness and even shedding tears. Then, something extraordinary happened. A team member, equipped with an infrared camera, captured a series of photographs showing a faint, ethereal figure hovering near Whitby. The figure appeared to be that of a woman in a flowing gown, her face a blur of anguish. These photographs, when developed, provided visual evidence that corroborated the medium's claims. The team's investigations continued over the years, expanding to other haunted locations in Aylesbury, including the site of Richard Hargrove's execution. In 1976, they documented a chilling encounter in the Old Market Square. During a late-night vigil, one of the investigators, David Carter, reported seeing a headless figure materialize out of the fog. He described the apparition in vivid detail: the ragged clothing, the dark stains where the head should have been, and the overwhelming sense of malevolence. Carter's experience was not an isolated incident. The team captured audio recordings of metallic clanging and a low, guttural moaning that defied explanation. Electromagnetic field readings spiked dramatically, and several investigators experienced unexplained nausea and dizziness. These findings were meticulously documented, adding to the growing body of evidence that something otherworldly was at play in Aylesbury. Despite the extensive documentation and recorded evidence, the investigations were not without controversy. Skeptics argued that the phenomena could be attributed to environmental factors, psychological suggestion, or outright fabrication. However, Dr. Mills and his team remained steadfast in their belief that Aylesbury was a hotbed of genuine paranormal activity. As we sift through these investigations, we're left with a profound sense of ambiguity. The evidence is compelling, yet the nature of the supernatural remains elusive. Are these hauntings the restless spirits of the departed, or are they manifestations of our deepest fears and unresolved emotions? The truth, it seems, lies somewhere in the shadows, just beyond
the reach of our understanding. Echoes from the Haunted.
Welcome back to Ghosts of the Past. Tonight, we listen to the voices of those who have lived through the eerie and unexplainable. These are the testimonies of Aylesbury's residents and visitors, whose encounters with the supernatural add layers of fear and ambiguity to the town's haunted legacy. Prepare yourself, for these are not just stories, they are experiences that have left indelible marks on those who have witnessed the unknown. We begin with the story of Clara Jennings, a lifelong resident of Aylesbury. Clara's childhood home stood near the Old Market Square, a place forever shadowed by the legend of the Headless Phantom. Clara recalls a night in 1958 when she and her friends dared each other to visit the square after dark. As they stood near the execution site, a thick fog rolled in, and the temperature dropped abruptly. Clara remembers hearing the sound of dragging footsteps behind them. When she turned, she saw a headless figure emerging from the mist, its hand reaching out as if in search of something or someone. The children fled in terror, and Clara's recounting of that night still sends chills down her spine. Next, we have the account of Thomas Reed, a local historian who moved to Aylesbury in the early 1970s. Thomas was skeptical of the town's ghost stories until the night he stayed at the Victorian manor known for the Weeping Shadow. One evening, as he was working late, he heard the unmistakable sound of a woman sobbing. Following the sound, he found himself in the drawing room, where he saw a translucent figure of a woman, her face contorted in grief, clutching a blood-stained handkerchief. She vanished before his eyes, leaving behind an overwhelming sense of sadness and despair. Thomas's skepticism was forever shattered, and he became one of the most vocal proponents of Aylesbury's haunted reputation. Another compelling testimony comes from Sarah Williams, a visitor who stayed at a local bed and breakfast known for its unsettling atmosphere. In 1993, Sarah was awakened in the middle of the night by a cold breeze and the sensation of being watched. She described seeing a shadowy figure standing at the foot of her bed, its form shifting and flickering in the dim light. The figure had no discernible features, but radiated a palpable sense of anger and sorrow. Sarah's experience was so disturbing that she cut her trip short, vowing never to return to Aylesbury. As we sift through these testimonies, common themes begin to emerge. Many witnesses report drastic temperature drops, often accompanied by an unshakable feeling of being watched. The apparitions are frequently described as shadowy figures or misty forms, their presence heralded by sounds, footsteps, sobbing, or eerie whispers. These experiences often evoke profound emotions, from overwhelming sadness to sheer terror, suggesting that the spirits of Aylesbury are not merely passive observers, but active participants in the lives of those who encounter them. Psychologists who have analyzed these stories suggest that the commonalities could point to a shared psychological phenomenon. The power of suggestion, combined with Aylesbury's dark history, might prime residents and visitors alike to experience similar paranormal events. However, the consistency and detail of these accounts make it difficult to dismiss them entirely as products of the imagination. Paranormal experts, on the other hand, argue that the recurring themes point to genuine hauntings. The entities described, whether the mournful Eliza Montgomery or the vengeful Richard Hargrove, seem to retain strong emotional ties to the locations they haunt. These spirits might be trapped in a loop, their unresolved traumas replaying over and over, affecting anyone who comes into contact with them. And then there are those who believe that Aylesbury itself is a thin place, a location where the veil between the living and the dead is exceptionally fragile. This theory posits that the town's unique history, combined with its geographic and environmental factors, creates a hotspot for paranormal activity. According to this view, the spirits of Aylesbury are not anomalies, but natural inhabitants of a town where the past and present coexist in eerie harmony. As we gather these stories, the sense of fear and ambiguity grows. What are we to make of these experiences? Are they glimpses into a hidden reality, or are they projections of our deepest fears and anxieties? The truth remains elusive, shrouded in the same mist that cloaks Aylesbury on those haunted nights.
the evidence files.
Welcome back to Ghosts of the Past. Tonight, we delve into the tangible proof of the paranormal, the collection of visual and audio evidence that has emerged from Aylesbury's haunted history. This chapter will take you through the chilling recordings and photographs that have been scrutinized by experts, adding layers of fear and ambiguity to the town's spectral legacy. Prepare yourself as we sift through the evidence, where the line between the real and the unreal becomes perilously thin. Our journey begins with the earliest known audio recordings from the 1960s. Dr. Richard Mills and his team from the British Institute of Paranormal Research captured a series of unsettling sounds during their investigation of the old Victorian manor. One particularly eerie recording features the unmistakable sound of a woman sobbing, accompanied by faint whispers that seem to plead for help. The cries are heart-wrenching, filled with a sorrow that transcends time and space. Audio experts who analyzed the recordings found no evidence of tampering, and the frequencies of the sounds extended beyond the range of normal human speech, suggesting an otherworldly origin. In the 1970s, the team ventured into the site of Richard Hargrove's execution. Here, they captured a spine-chilling EVP, or electronic voice phenomenon. The recording, taken during a late-night vigil, features a deep, guttural moan followed by what sounds like the clanging of metal on stone. The voice seems to say, "Injustice must be avenged," a haunting reminder of Hargrove's tragic fate. Experts who examined the EVP confirmed its authenticity, noting that the sounds were captured in an environment free from any external interference. Photographic evidence from the same era adds another layer of terror to Aylesbury's haunted narrative. One of the most compelling images was taken by a team member during a séance at the Victorian manor. The photograph shows a faint, ethereal figure hovering near the medium, Eleanor Whitby. The figure appears to be that of a woman in a flowing gown, her face contorted in anguish. When developed, the photograph revealed details that were not visible to the naked eye, such as the spectral figure's blood-stained handkerchief, linking it unmistakably to Eliza Montgomery, the weeping shadow. Another photograph, taken in the old market square, captures the horrifying image of a headless figure emerging from the fog. The figure is shrouded in tattered clothing, with dark stains where the head should be. This photograph, taken by David Carter, a member of Dr. Mills's team, has been subjected to extensive analysis. Experts have ruled out double exposure, lens flare, or any other photographic anomaly, concluding that the image is genuine and unaltered. More recent evidence comes from a documentary crew that visited Aylesbury in the late 1990s. While filming at the bed and breakfast, known for its unsettling atmosphere, the crew captured video footage of a shadowy figure moving across the room. The figure, barely visible to the naked eye, appears as a dark blur on the infrared camera. The footage also includes audio of a faint whisper, saying, "Leave this place." Video analysts who reviewed the tape confirmed its authenticity, noting that the figure's movement and the synchronicity of the audio suggested a genuine paranormal occurrence. Despite the compelling nature of this evidence, skepticism persists. Some experts argue that the recordings and photographs could be the result of psychological suggestion, environmental factors, or even deliberate hoaxes. They point to the power of the mind to perceive patterns and sounds that aren't really there, especially in locations with a strong historical narrative of hauntings. However, others defend the authenticity of the evidence. They argue that the consistency of the reports, the credibility of the investigators, and the rigorous analysis conducted on the evidence all point to a genuine paranormal phenomenon. These experts believe that Aylesbury's haunted history is not merely the product of imagination, but a reflection of a deeper, more unsettling reality. As we analyze this collection of evidence, the ambiguity remains. The visual and audio recordings provide a window into the unknown, but they also raise more questions than answers. Are these glimpses of restless spirits forever tied to the places of their torment? Or are they manifestations of our own fears and unresolved emotions, given form by the power of belief? In the end,
the evidence leaves us with a profound sense of unease.
The photographs and recordings are real, but their interpretation is shrouded in mystery. As we conclude this chapter, we are reminded that the truth often lies just beyond our grasp, hidden in the shadows of the past.
The mind's dark corners.
Welcome back to Ghosts of the Past. Tonight, we delve into the shadowy realm of the mind and its profound role in shaping our experiences with the paranormal. This chapter explores the intersection of psychology and the supernatural, examining common psychological explanations for the eerie phenomena that have long haunted Aylesbury. As we navigate this labyrinth of fear and ambiguity, prepare to question not only what you see and hear, but also the workings of your own mind. Our journey begins with an exploration of how the human mind processes fear and the unknown. Fear is an ancient, primal emotion rooted deeply in our survival instincts. When confronted with situations that defy logic and understanding, our minds can conjure powerful sensations and images. This psychological mechanism, designed to protect us from danger, can also lead us into the murky waters of the paranormal. One of the most common psychological explanations for paranormal experiences is the concept of pareidolia. This phenomenon occurs when the mind perceives familiar patterns and random stimuli. For instance, a shadow cast by a tree in the moonlight might be interpreted as a ghostly figure, or the creaking of old floorboards might be heard as footsteps. Pareidolia is a testament to the brain's remarkable ability to find meaning and order, even in the most ambiguous of situations. Consider the testimony of Clara Jennings, who saw a headless figure in the fog near the Old Market Square. While her experience was undoubtedly terrifying, psychological experts suggest that her mind might have projected a familiar image, one rooted in the local legend, onto the indistinct shapes and sounds of a foggy night. The power of suggestion, coupled with the eerie atmosphere, could have triggered a vivid and unforgettable hallucination. Another psychological factor at play is confirmation bias. This is the tendency to interpret new evidence as confirmation of one's existing beliefs or theories. In a town like Aylesbury, steeped in ghost stories and legends, residents and visitors alike might be more inclined to perceive ordinary events as paranormal. The sound of wind rustling through the trees or the flickering of a candle can take on sinister significance when viewed through the lens of a haunted history. Take, for example, the experience of Thomas Reed, the historian who encountered the weeping shadow. His prior knowledge of Eliza Montgomery's tragic tale might have predisposed him to interpret the sounds of sobbing and the appearance of a misty figure as supernatural. In such a charged environment, confirmation bias can turn the mundane into the extraordinary. Sleep paralysis is another phenomenon often linked to paranormal experiences. This occurs when a person, either falling asleep or awakening, finds themselves unable to move or speak, often accompanied by vivid hallucinations and a sense of an oppressive presence. The sensation can be so intense that it feels like an encounter with a malevolent spirit. Many reported ghost sightings and visits from shadowy figures can be attributed to this distressing condition. Sarah Williams' experience at the bed and breakfast, where she awoke to a shadowy figure standing at the foot of her bed, could be a classic case of sleep paralysis. The cold breeze and the feeling of being watched are common symptoms, and the mind, trapped in a state between wakefulness and sleep, can conjure terrifying visions that feel utterly real. Moreover, the power of suggestion plays a crucial role in group settings, such as the seance led by Eleanor Whitby. In such scenarios, the expectations and emotions of one person can influence the perceptions of others. The shared belief in the presence of spirits can create a collective experience where everyone feels or sees the same thing, even if it has no basis in reality. This psychological phenomenon can amplify and validate individual experiences, making the supernatural seem undeniable. Finally, there is the impact of environmental factors. Certain locations, with their unique acoustics, electromagnetic fields, and lighting conditions, can create sensations that the mind interprets as paranormal. For instance, infrasound low-frequency sound waves that are often imperceptible can cause feelings of unease, dizziness, and even visual hallucinations. These effects, combined with the power of suggestion, can make a perfectly natural environment feel profoundly haunted. In Aylesbury, where the old buildings and narrow streets carry a palpable sense of history, these environmental factors are particularly potent. The creaks and groans of aging structures, the play of light and shadow, and the natural infrasound created by the wind can all contribute to a heightened sense of the supernatural. As we consider these psychological explanations, the line between reality and illusion blurs. Are the ghostly figures and eerie sounds the products of restless spirits, or are they the creations of our own minds, struggling to make sense of the unknown? The fear and ambiguity remain, leaving us to ponder the mysteries that lie both within and beyond our
The science of the supernatural.
Welcome back to Ghosts of the Past. Tonight, we venture into the realm where science seeks to illuminate the shadows of the supernatural. This chapter explores scientific theories about the mysteries of Aylesbury, focusing particularly on one of its most enigmatic locations, the Haunted Road, where numerous inexplicable events have occurred. As we unravel the natural explanations for these seemingly supernatural phenomena, prepare to question everything you thought you knew about the intersection of the natural and the paranormal. Our journey begins on the outskirts of Aylesbury, where a narrow, winding road has long been a focal point of eerie tales and ghostly sightings. This road, known locally as Devil's Bend, has been the site of countless accidents, mysterious disappearances, and spectral apparitions.
But what does science have to say about the road's dark reputation?
One of the most compelling scientific theories revolves around the concept of infrasound. Infrasound refers to low-frequency sound waves that are below the threshold of human hearing. These waves can be generated by natural phenomena, such as wind passing over uneven terrain, thunderstorms, or even certain types of seismic activity.
Infrasound has been shown to cause feelings of anxiety, unease, and even hallucinations in those exposed to it.
On Devil's Bend, the unique topography of the area could create infrasound waves that affect travelers, leading to the strange sensations and apparitions reported by many.
Consider the story of Jake Turner, a truck driver who experienced a harrowing encounter on Devil's Bend. Jake described seeing a spectral figure standing in the middle of the road, causing him to swerve and crash. Scientific analysis of the area revealed that wind patterns and the shape of the surrounding hills could produce infrasound waves strong enough to induce visual and auditory hallucinations. Jake's ghostly figure might have been a product of his mind, influenced by these powerful, invisible forces. Another natural explanation lies in the phenomenon of light refraction. The road is surrounded by dense woods and is often cloaked in mist. Under certain conditions, headlights from vehicles can refract through the mist and foliage, creating optical illusions that appear as ghostly apparitions. This effect, known as a fata morgana, can cause distant objects to appear distorted or multiplied, adding to the eerie atmosphere of the road. Take the account of Emily and Robert Harris, who saw multiple ghostly figures along the roadside one foggy night.
They described the figures as translucent and floating just above the ground. Experts who studied the location suggested that their headlights had likely created a fata morgana, transforming ordinary objects into spectral shapes that seemed to dance in the mist. Electromagnetic fields, EMFs, also offer a plausible explanation for the road's mysterious reputation. Certain geological formations can emit high levels of EMFs, which have been linked to feelings of unease, paranoia, and even hallucinations. Devil's Bend sits atop a natural fault line, which could produce these fields. Scientific studies have shown that people exposed to high EMF levels in controlled environments often report sensations similar to those described by witnesses on the road, feelings of being watched, sudden chills, and seeing fleeting shadowy figures. Then there is the role of magnetic anomalies. Geological surveys have detected irregular magnetic fields in the area surrounding Devil's Bend. These anomalies can interfere with electronic equipment and disorient animals and humans alike. Compasses spin wildly, and GPS systems often fail, adding to the sense of dread and confusion experienced by travelers. Such disorientation can heighten anxiety and lead to misinterpretation of ordinary events as supernatural. We must also consider the psychological impact of the road's dark history. The power of suggestion is incredibly strong, and the stories surrounding Devil's Bend have created a shared narrative of fear. When people travel the road, they are primed to expect something out of the ordinary. This heightened state of alertness can cause the brain to interpret natural stimuli, such as a rustling in the bushes or a fleeting shadow, as evidence of the supernatural. Dr. Susan Carter, a psychologist specializing in paranormal experiences, explains that our brains are wired to seek patterns and explanations, especially in situations of uncertainty or fear. On a road like Devil's Bend, with its reputation and eerie environment, the brain may fill in the gaps with the most frightening scenarios imaginable. This psychological phenomenon, known as patternicity, can turn mundane experiences into ghostly encounters. Despite these scientific explanations, the fear and mystery surrounding Devil's Bend persist. The natural phenomena, be it infrasound, light refraction, electromagnetic fields, or magnetic anomalies, provide a rational framework for understanding the road's eerie reputation. Yet, the stories and experiences of those who travel it leave us with a lingering sense of ambiguity. Science may offer answers, but the human experience, rich with emotion and perception, often defies simple explanation. As we conclude this chapter, we are reminded that the natural and the supernatural are often two sides of the same coin. The mysteries of Devil's Bend challenge our understanding of reality, pushing us to explore the limits of both science and belief. Debunking the darkness. Welcome back to Ghosts of the Past. Tonight, we tread a skeptical path, examining arguments against the paranormal activity that has long haunted Aylesbury. This chapter is dedicated to debunking popular myths and stories, casting a critical eye on the tales that have stirred fear and fascination for generations. Prepare yourself for a journey into the realm of reason and skepticism, where the eerie and the unexplained are challenged by logic and evidence. Our journey begins with the case of the Weeping Shadow, the ghost of Eliza Montgomery, whose tragic story has been passed down through generations. According to legend, Eliza's spirit roams the Victorian manor, her sorrowful cries echoing through the halls. Yet, a closer examination reveals significant inconsistencies in the historical record. Local historians have found no evidence of a woman named Eliza Montgomery living in or near Aylesbury during the purported time period. Moreover, the supposed blood-stained handkerchief, a key element of the tale, was proven to be a forgery, an antique purchased and artificially aged to fit the narrative. Consider also the Headless Phantom of the Old Market Square. Many have reported seeing a headless figure emerging from the fog, a terrifying sight that has fueled countless ghost stories. However, investigations by local skeptics have debunked this myth. Careful analysis of weather patterns and historical records suggests that the sightings coincide with seasonal fog and mist, which can create optical illusions. Furthermore, a local prankster admitted to dressing in a headless costume and wandering the square on foggy nights, adding a human element to the ghostly legend. The Victorian Manor, known for its unsettling atmosphere and the spectral presence of the weeping shadow, has been the subject of numerous paranormal investigations. Yet, many of these investigations have overlooked a critical detail: the manor's old plumbing system. The pipes, which date back to the 19th century, are notorious for their creaks and groans, sounds that can easily be mistaken for ghostly wails in the dead of night. Additionally, drafts from ill-fitted windows and doors can create eerie, unexplained breezes, adding to the manor's haunted reputation. Another popular myth revolves around the spectral figures seen on Devil's Bend. While these sightings have terrified many, rational explanations abound. Wildlife, such as deer or large birds, often cross the road, their eyes reflecting the light in a way that can appear otherworldly. Moreover, the dense fog that frequently blankets the area can distort perception, making these animals appear ghostly and insubstantial. In one documented case, a pair of owls perched on a tree branch was mistaken for a headless specter, their eyes reflecting the headlights of an oncoming car. Sleep paralysis, a condition experienced by many, offers a natural explanation for numerous ghost sightings. This condition, which occurs when a person is either falling asleep or waking up, temporarily paralyzes the body while the mind remains conscious. It often comes with vivid hallucinations, such as the sensation of an evil presence or shadowy figures in the room. Many of the ghostly encounters reported in Aylesbury, particularly those involving immobile witnesses, can be attributed to this phenomenon. The terrifying experience of being unable to move while seeing a ghostly figure can feel incredibly real, yet it is entirely explainable by modern science. Electromagnetic fields, EMFs, are another factor frequently cited in paranormal investigations. High levels of EMFs can cause various symptoms, including nausea, headaches, and a sense of unease, which can be misinterpreted as a ghostly presence. In Aylesbury, old electrical wiring and geological formations contribute to elevated EMF levels in certain areas. Skeptical investigators have used EMF detectors to demonstrate that many so-called haunted locations in the town coincide with high EMF readings, suggesting a natural rather than supernatural cause for the reported phenomena. Then there's the phenomenon of group hysteria, where the power of suggestion and shared belief can lead to collective experiences of the paranormal. In a town like Aylesbury, with its rich tapestry of ghost stories, it's easy for a single person's fear to spread through a group, creating a shared experience that feels undeniably real. Historical accounts of witch hunts and mass hysteria provide ample evidence of how powerful and convincing these shared beliefs can be, even in the absence of any genuine supernatural occurrence. Debunking these myths does not diminish the fear and awe that such stories inspire. Instead, it invites us to look deeper, to understand the mechanisms of our minds and environments that create these eerie experiences. It challenges us to separate fact from fiction and to appreciate the rich interplay between history, psychology, and culture that gives rise to the legends of Aylesbury. As we conclude this chapter, we are reminded that skepticism is not about dismissing the paranormal, but about seeking the truth, however elusive it may be. The myths and stories of Aylesbury are part of its charm, weaving a tapestry of mystery and wonder that captivates the imagination. By exploring both the natural and the supernatural, we gain a fuller understanding of the human experience and the world around us.
The shadows persist.
Welcome back to Ghosts of the Past. Tonight, we reach the end of our journey into the haunted heart of Aylesbury and the mysterious road known as Devil's Bend. As we conclude this season, we reflect on the stories, evidence, and theories that have both captivated and terrified us. Prepare yourself for a final descent into fear, apprehension, and the unending ambiguity that shrouds this enigmatic location. Our exploration began with the chilling tale of Eliza Montgomery, the Weeping Shadow. Her tragic story, echoing through the halls of the Victorian manor, set the stage for the many ghostly encounters we investigated. From the mournful sobs captured on early audio recordings to the eerie photograph of her spectral figure, Eliza's presence has been a persistent thread in Aylesbury's haunted tapestry. Despite the skepticism and debunking efforts, the sorrow and fear her story evokes remain potent, reminding us of the thin veil between history and legend. We then delved into the harrowing accounts of the headless apparition in the old market square. Witnesses like Clara Jennings and David Carter provided compelling testimonies that, combined with the eerie photographs and electromagnetic anomalies, painted a picture of a restless spirit doomed to wander the fog-shrouded streets. While scientific explanations such as infrasound and light refraction offered rational insights, the fear and dread experienced by those who encountered the phantom are undeniable. Our investigation of Devil's Bend, the infamous road where spectral figures and mysterious accidents have occurred, revealed a complex interplay of natural phenomena and psychological influences. The low-frequency infrasound, optical illusions created by fog and headlights, and the disorienting effects of electromagnetic fields all contributed to the road's haunted reputation. Yet, the consistent reports of ghostly encounters, the chilling EVP recordings, and the photographs of shadowy figures leave us with more questions than answers. Throughout our journey, we examined the role of psychology in shaping paranormal experiences. Concepts like pareidolia, confirmation bias, and sleep paralysis provided plausible explanations for many ghost sightings. The power of suggestion and group hysteria further illuminated how shared beliefs and emotions can create convincing supernatural encounters. However, the lingering ambiguity and the deep-rooted fear these stories inspire highlight the profound impact of the human mind on our perception of reality. So, what of Devil's Bend today? The road continues to hold a place of fear and fascination in modern folklore. Despite advances in science and technology, it remains a magnet for paranormal enthusiasts, investigators, and thrill seekers. The Victorian manor still stands, its halls echoing with whispers of the past, while the old market square draws visitors hoping to catch a glimpse of the Headless Phantom. The road itself, winding through the misty landscape, retains its eerie allure, a symbol of the enduring mystery and the unknown. Local residents and visitors alike report ongoing experiences, adding new chapters to Aylesbury's haunted history. The stories evolve, blending historical events with contemporary encounters, creating a rich tapestry of legend and lore. Paranormal tours and ghost hunts are popular, with guides recounting the spine-chilling tales we've explored this season. Devil's Bend has become a place where the past and present intertwine, a testament to the power of storytelling and the human fascination with the supernatural. As we conclude this season of Ghosts of the Past, we are left with a profound sense of ambiguity.
The evidence we've examined, both scientific and anecdotal, paints a complex picture of a place where natural phenomena, psychological influences, and genuine mysteries converge. The fear and apprehension that Devil's Bend inspires are real, as are the experiences of those who venture into its shadows. Whether one believes in ghosts or not, the stories and the emotions they evoke are a testament to the enduring power of the unknown. Welcome to the final moments of Ghosts of the Past. Tonight, as we stand on the brink of concluding our exploration, I want to share some personal reflections and thoughts on the future of the legends we've delved into. This epilogue is a journey into my own experiences during the research and a contemplation on how these eerie tales might evolve. Prepare for a final descent into fear, apprehension, and the persistent ambiguity that defines Aylesbury's haunted legacy. As I walked the streets of Aylesbury, visited the old Victorian manor, and traversed Devil's Bend, I felt the weight of history and legend pressing down on me. The stories we uncovered were more than just tales. They were a living part of the community, woven into the very fabric of the town. Meeting with residents, listening to their testimonies, and experiencing the eerie atmosphere firsthand brought the legends to life in a way that no amount of research or storytelling could fully capture. One night stands out in particular. I was standing near the market square, shrouded in a thick fog, when I felt a chill run down my spine. Was it the cold night air, or was there something more? A shadow moved in the corner of my vision, and for a moment I understood the fear that has gripped so many who have walked these streets. Rationally, I knew it was likely a trick of the light or a passing animal, but in that moment, the boundary between the known and the unknown seemed to blur. My visit to the Victorian manor was equally unsettling. The old pipes groaned, and a draft whispered through the halls, but it was the stories that weighed heaviest. As I sat in the dimly lit parlor, I couldn't help but imagine Eliza Montgomery's sorrowful figure appearing before me. The sense of history and tragedy was palpable, and while I understood the natural explanations, the emotions they evoked were undeniably real. Traveling along Devil's Bend, the infamous road, was perhaps the most disconcerting experience. The fog rolled in thick waves, and every creak of the car's frame, every rustle of the wind, seemed to carry an echo of the past. I thought of Jake Turner and the spectral figure that caused his crash. Whether a product of infrasound, light refraction, or the power of suggestion, the fear he experienced was genuine. As I drove, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that at any moment, something might emerge from the shadows. These personal experiences have deepened my appreciation for the power of these legends. They are more than just stories. They are a testament to the human need to explain the inexplicable, to find meaning in the face of uncertainty and fear. Looking to the future, I believe these legends will continue to evolve, adapting to new contexts and generations. As technology advances, so too will the ways in which we experience and share these stories. Digital recordings, augmented reality, and social media will bring new dimensions to the tales of Aylesbury. Imagine exploring the Victorian manor with a virtual reality headset, seeing Eliza Montgomery's ghost appear before your eyes, or walking Devil's Bend, guided by an app that overlays historical events and ghost sightings onto the landscape. Yet, despite these technological advances, the core of these legends will remain unchanged. They will continue to thrive because they speak to something fundamental within us: our fascination with the unknown, our fear of the dark, and our desire to connect with the past. New characters and narratives will emerge, adding to the rich tapestry of Aylesbury's haunted history, but the essence of these stories will endure. As we close this chapter of Ghosts of the Past, I want to thank you, our listeners, for joining us on this journey. Your curiosity, your fear, and your willingness to explore the unknown have made this season unforgettable. While we may have uncovered many explanations, the mysteries of Aylesbury continue to defy simple answers, leaving us with a lingering sense of ambiguity and wonder. And so, we leave you with this: keep your mind open, your senses sharp, and your heart ready for the unexpected.
The shadows may hold more than just darkness. They may hold the echoes of the past, the whispers of legends, and the fleeting glimpses of the supernatural. Until we meet again, remember that the most compelling mysteries are those that challenge us to think deeper and feel more profoundly. Good night, and beware the shadows.